Chapter 7. His heart pounding, Mike found the captain leaving the headquarters tent. The muscles in his face were tight and dark circles shadowed his eyes. Quickly stepping to the captain's side, Mike blurted out, "Sir, I have a friend in camp named Todd Blakely. His father, Captain John Blakely, serving with Captain Joshua Taylor in Virginia." Captain Dawes' eyes lit with recognition. "Josh Taylor was a classmate of mine at West Point." Mike was cold, even with the sweat trickled down his neck and his backbone. "I mean, sir, Todd's awful worried about Captain Taylor. I mean, his father and Captain Taylor. Is there any chance of knowing whether they were at Bull Run and whether they, Mike couldn't finish. Captain Dawes clapped a hand on Mike's shoulder. "I was just telling you about Captain Taylor because we were just reading correspondence about the battle and its unfortunate outcome. Josh's name stood out to me because he's a friend. He survived the battle with honor. As a matter of fact, he received a field promotion to a major." A rush of relief and thankfulness left Mike lightheaded. His voice cracked as he said, "And Todd's father, Captain Blakely, you know what happened to him?" Captain Dawes hesitated. "I wish I had good news for your friend, but as of yet I haven't. We weren't sent a list of casualties." Mike slowly made his way back to where Todd was waiting. "They don't have a list of casualties yet," Mike said. "That doesn't mean anything happened to either your father or mine. We've got to keep thinking they both survived the battle of honor." Tears flooded Todd's eyes, and he rubbed them away angrily as he dropped cross-legged on the ground. In a few moments he said, "Mike, we'll be going to battle soon, and I've been thinking, not everybody lives through a battle to tell about it." "Don't say that," Mike scolded as he squatted next to Todd. "It's not right." "It's right to face the truth," Todd said. Mike shook his head. It's just asking for trouble," he insisted. Todd put a hand on Mike's arms. "I don't own much of value, but..." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple gold-plated pocket watch, which had been dented by baby teeth. "You know that my pa gave me this on my last birthday." Todd bit his lip hard enough to leave marks before he said, "Mike, if I'm killed in battle, will you take my watch, and when you reach home again, will you give it to my sister Emily?" "Todd, you're not going to get killed." Todd tightened his grip on Mike's arm, and Mike winced. "You've got to promise, Mike. Promise." "All right," Mike said. "I promise. I'll do whatever you want." Solemnly, Mike and Todd shook hands. "And now," Mike said, trying hard to sound cheerful and hearty, "let's decide how we'll celebrate once the battle's over and the victory's been won." "Celebrate with what?" Todd asked. Mike winked. "Maybe with a nice roast turkey. I saw a few in the field a ways back. Now, wouldn't a turkey taste good along with applesauce? I think I'd dive in head first. Gobble, gobble, gobble." Todd couldn't help smiling, and Mike was cheered. When the mail arrived, both Mike and Todd received their first letters from their families, and Todd's good humor seemed completely restored. Like many of the soldiers who received mail, Mike found a place apart from his friends and settled down to read the letters over and over in private. Mike read Louisa Taylor's letter first. In no uncertain terms she wrote she was frantic about Mike, who was much too young to serve his country. Yet, she added, "There's nothing that can be done about it now, so I can only say that my prayers and love follow you wherever you go." The next letter, Ma gave Mike a good blunt scolding about before her words lost their edge and became as tender as Mike remembered. "My impulsive, adventuresome son," she wrote. "I guess I should have expected you to leap to be one of the first to serve your country. Just remember you're a boy, not yet a man. Stay away from those who drink and gamble with cards. Choose your companions wisely. Don't forget to pray. Throughout each and every day I'll be praying for you." Ma sent her everlasting love and included a funny note from Peg, who wrote a gleeful description of mean Mr. Crandon tripping and falling face down into a mud puddle. Mike would never forget Mr. Crandon, the stuffy bank president who had wanted to send him back to New York in prison. He hoped he never met up with that man again. There was a short letter from Megan, who promised to write every week. A longer letter from Frances, who didn't scold, as Mike thought she might. She longed for the slave issue to be settled once and for all, and war to be over, and soon Mike to return to the safety of his home with the Taylors. There was no letter yet from Danny, but Mike didn't worry about his brother, who'd have to take a long drive to town in order to post his letter. Soon Mike, with a wide smile on his face, joined Mike and dropped Todd, with a wide smile on his face, joined Mike and dropped to the ground next to him. Ma got all off her chest, and then she began writing loving things and telling me how she was arranging with her brother Peter to have me live with his family in Boston when the war's over. Todd chuckled. "All I care about is that Ma got over being mad at me. Now on, everything's going to be all right." Todd punched Mike's arm, Mike punched back, and they scuffled, rolled, yelled, and laughed, until two men plucked him apart, dangling him in the air by their belts. "Cut out that fighting. You want to get in trouble?" Harley's deep voice broke in. "Leave the boys alone. Don't you remember when you were their age and having fun?" With the men dumped Mike and Todd on the ground where, still laughing, they scrambled to pick up their mail. During the next few days of camp life followed its usual pattern, with one exception. General Lyon, concerned about protecting the citizens of Springfield from unwarranted raids, issued an order temporarily forbidding foraging. As a result, all soldiers under his command were existing on half rations. The soldiers' empty bellies were made the long wait to fight the Confederates seem longer. "General Fremont took charge of the Western Army," Harley said during one of the man's countless card games, "and I heard tell he won't send Lyon to the troops he's been begging for. Lyon's afraid of getting beat without extra men. He's hoping Fremont will change his mind." Sitting on the sidelines with Todd, Mike listened intently. Ben squatted on his haunches as he slapped down a six of spades. "How come you know so much about what's going on, Harley?" he asked. Harley spat at one side and wiped his mouth with his sleeve before he answered. "Nobody tells a foot soldier nothing, so a long time ago I learned to keep my ears open. That's how come I know what the officers talk about." Ben grunted. Well, if they're all they're going to do is wait and try and make up their minds when they're going to fight, I'll be long gone out of here. And so will the other volunteers who signed up with me. Our 90 days is over August 14th. Some volunteers earlier than that. Don't count on it, Harley answered. If Lyon isn't going to get troops to replace the volunteers, he's bound to go into action while he's still got men under contract. He studied his cards and said, word is that Lyon's spies told him that the Rebs are moving some strong up from Cassville, hoping to march to Springfield. Mike couldn't help bursting in. Then why doesn't General Lyon do something about it right now? General Sweeney and those Rebs on the run from Forsyth, we could do it again. Ben snickered. Want to tell him that General Lyon, Harley? Harley laid down the card and smiled a satisfied smile. I don't talk to generals. I listen to what they've got to say and I pass along the word. But on August 1st, orders were given to so swiftly that even Harley Botts had no advance notice. General Lyon had learned from his scouts that a strong column of Confederate soldiers was less than 18 miles from Springfield. That afternoon, the men on Major Sturgeon's battalion left camp and began their march to join Lyon's brigade. They forded Wilson's Creek, which is fairly shallow in the August heat, halted in the field north of Sketch Branch. Mike eagerly helped set up a camp. Nearly 6,000 officers and men beat his drum calls in unmatched vigor and excitement. The next morning, when the march began again, he was sure his drum beats were the liveliest along the route. Captain Steele of a battalion in artillery led the advance, chasing off a smattering of Confederates as he deployed 2 of his companies along Telegraph Road after them. I told you, Mike said proudly to Harley as the march was halted and the word was passed down the line. Easy to see those Rebs scurrying. Harley grunted. Don't be too sure. Take a look at what's around us. Forest, thick underbrush, steep hills. Easier to fight in the open than terrain like this, take my word for it. Word came from the Missouri State Guard that had attacked some of Steele's vanguard at Doug Springs, so Lyon sent some of his brigade ahead to reinforce Steele's forces. And as instructed, Mike's company stood by for further orders. Why don't we go into the action, Mike demanded. Settle down, Todd answered. We'll find out soon enough. Eager to fight, are you, boy? Billy muttered. To Mike's surprise, he saw most of the men seem restless or nervous. Few of them shared the excitement he felt. The night at camp, rumors were thick as the clouds of moths that beat against the lantern's glass. A group of soldiers gathered around Harley, eager for a scrap of information, but Harley could only guess at what was happening.